What's good, YouTube? Cardfight King here, AQUA LIFE BABY. You already know how it is. So today, guys, I want to give you guys a quick update to my Thavas deck, post-Fires Collection 2017. It's going to talk about, like the GB8s and the new G Guardian and whatnot. Show you guys some changes to the deck. And also next video and I'm gonna talk about it a bit in this video as well, but the set 12 release and the issue, more or less as it relates to the issue of stagnation, and it's really something I'm not happy about. And I'll talk about stagnation and how it's really bad in this game, but I'm related to Aqua Force and other things, so you'll see about that next video, and I will talk a bit about it in this video as well. So yeah, alright, let's get on with the deck profile. Alright, so starter is Andre. Andre's is still a very good starter, very solid. I know I've been testing out Mitros, but, because I do see some costs for him. Riding Thavas is very important, especially with what decks are out today. But Andre is still so solid. Example, first turn against Gear Chronicles, had a really bad hand. I had 3 counter blasts available, but I was able to throw him the soul, combo him with Melania. Melania was able to draw me 2 because he restood her, and then, plus my triple drive. It's just really, 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 he's an outstanding card. Definitely makes a lot of plays in the deck. So Andre is staying in for now, but I will be testing out Mitros because I do see the other side to why people would prefer Mitros to Andre. 4 copies of our new heal trigger, Johannes. I think that's how you say your name, Johannes. But her ability is pretty much when you G-Guard with her and you call her Evolution, which is the G-Guard form of her, you get to discard a grade 1 or less card from your hand and then draw 1 card. I more or less play her for the benefit of, maybe I need a Stride enabler next turn. Maybe I need a rear guard, an Adelaide, a Tidal. Maybe I need a Stride fodder for next turn. So I'm gonna use her to dump like a draw trigger or a dead Melania in hand or something to hopefully draw into something I need, maybe defensively for that turn, or just something for next turn. And then when if I make it to my next turn, when I draw, it'll be something that I actually want, that I don't want to end up drive checking, something that I want in my hand before drive check, in a sense. So I'm more or less playing her for the benefit of having that chance to filter, to filter in a sense. So yeah, 4 draws, 4 Malika, still very, very good, very solid. 4 Supersonic, outstanding card, and 4 Petros, another one. Alright, and on to grade 1. 4 copies of Plato's Unfleeting PG, still want to run him. 4 copies of Nikki, want to get the Thavas ASAP and be able to stride. 4 Melania and 2 Stacia. Melania's role in this deck has definitely picked up a lot. Being able to see her early and often is a really big plus for me. Being able to get her onto the board and first stride is good. Sorry, I had a little interruption, but like I said, her role has been more important. Again, seeing her early game is extremely important. That draw ability, that combo with Andre, against control, some control decks, you may see a little bit more Link Jokers because the GB8 card came out and it's really, really good, but maybe it's tiny increase, not something too significant, but against Link Joker, still solid. Against Night Rose, it's a really good card against Night Rose. It's just something that's going to stand on the board that can't get cannoneered. So definitely a solid card overall, great booster, very versatile, and I think that her draw is really important, especially on the Lambros turn. Her role has increased over time. Stacia is still an extremely good card too. The 9K from the back row saves your butt a whole ton, but you definitely want to see Melania a little bit more often than her nowadays because she has a little bit more longevity in a sense. And is a little bit more versatile, but Stacia still puts in a lot of work, makes a hell of a lot of plays. All right, on to grade 2. Oh boy. Tired. All right, grade 2, we got my man's Title Assault. You guys know him, man needs no explanation. My favorite, grade 2, my avatar, my home dog, Title. Just an outstanding card. He's just gotten a whole lot better, not to the point of being banned, but a whole lot better. He's the core of Thavas' early game, or more or less Aquaforce's early game in a sense. Just an outstanding card. One of the core cards for Aquaforce in general. For Adelaide, really good, really still an all-star, still solid in the deck. Just be careful of using her. I've seen some videos where players would commit with her ability and then get head or hounded or cannoneered, and so literally all I'm just, with her, you just have to have awareness and choose whether or not you want to gamble or not, depending on the deck you're playing against. Because once you commit a counterblast and soul blast with her ability against decks that are able to get rid of her on on defense, if they do get rid of her, that is a big loss in a sense. But sometimes you have no choice but to gamble it. Other times it's like, well, try and make a little bit of a better decision, maybe, especially on the Lambros turn. You don't want her getting head or hound on the Lambros turn if you're gonna, she's one of your main combo pieces in a sense. So just be careful. 2 copies of Mags and Saberflow. Now this leads me into my, one of my discussions about Stagnation. Magnum's Magnum. He's just still solid in the deck. But with Saberflow, I was testing out High Tide, and High Tide's pretty nice still. But I'm going to go with Saberflow for right now because that draw is really important. That draw keeps you in games, keeps you alive. Against decks like Luard. Luard is just a hard deck to play against. It's really just a hard deck to play against, especially if you play against a good player who knows what they're doing. Even though the deck has a big area of forgiveness for misplays and whatnot, against someone who knows what they're doing, it's just a really hard deck to play against. But it's her draw is important for keeping us in games. And as far as Stagnation goes, we're with the reveal of set 12, that's pretty much confirmed for me that we're not getting support for the rest of this year. We're gonna go a year without support. We got support in set 9, which is one of the main sets. But we've had we're gonna have we've had Try 3 booster, IG Legend deck, the booster for Pale Moon and Grand Blue and whatnot in between, set 9 and whatnot and 10, something like that. So, we haven't, and the last time we got, it was in December, I believe that's when set 9 was out. So we haven't gotten support for a really, really long time. And since we're going to go the entire 2017 without support, we're going to hit this point of stagnation. And this game is really bad because as our deck might be really solid, like the deck is still fantastic, it's still good, you can still definitely win and dominate games in a sense, but not as like we used, it's not like we used to do. As other decks continue to get support, and this goes for a lot of decks that are facing this same problem, as other decks like Shadow Paladins, Royals, Neo Nectars, Gears, things like that. As they continue to get more and more support, and other clans get neglected for support in a sense, like Link Jokers, Aquaforce, and things like that, we start to stagnate, to stay. So as other decks get faster, get more explosive, we're still working with what we've had previously, what we've had before. And sure, set 9 gave us Wailing Thavas and maybe some few decent cards, but it didn't give us anything impactful. Like I said, it didn't give us anything impactful that would give us consistent results against the better decks consistently. And this point of stagnation has definitely, will definitely hurt us, especially as we get further, once Bermuda releases, once we get into set 11 with Nubatamas and Dominate, in set 12 with more Nubatamas and Shadows and whatnot. This point of stagnation, you'll just see that these decks have gotten a lot faster and a lot more explosive than we are, and have more ways to combat us, as well as providing themselves, generally providing themselves a little bit more defense against what we have. So that's what I'm making. And so with her in the deck, that draw is important just to, get some defense, keep us in games, maybe draw into some offense, some stride, something. But give us a play for next turn. So that's why I'm running her in the deck for right now, is because of this issue of stagnation. And I'll talk about that more next video. All right, and on to the grade 3. Grade 3, 4 copies of Thavas, obviously main stride deck card you want to be on. 2 Skiros. I'm seeing his usefulness depreciate a lot more. Again, and I do mention Shadows a lot because Shadows are possibly next to Gear Chronicles the most popular deck being played, and Night Rose in a sense, but more or less Shadows. And you don't want to get caught on this card because against Shadows, that's like a death wish. And you don't want to get hit with Phantom Blast or Diablo. You don't want to take that challenge if you don't have to. And just they take advantage of your front row rear guys. Now against like control decks, some control decks which you don't really see anymore, but against like I guess Chaos Breaker, which you may see a little bit more, it's okay. But I am seeing more cause to remove him from the deck and play for something else than to keep him in. Because I'm still not a big fan of riding him. I think the deck just works like a well-oiled machine when we're on Thavas. And then I added in Benedict. Now, I do know that the guy who just won a BCS ran Benedict, and I have no way to prove to you if I put this into my deck before that list was posted on Facebook or not. I have no way to prove that to you, so we're just going to leave that out. But I wanted to revisit Benedict because... and I do agree with his decision. It's still a decent card. It's having Tidal Assault's dad pretty much in the deck. It's still a pretty decent card. He's just on tentative. It's something I'm testing out. He's not solidly in here, but I'm testing him out. Like I'm going to test out Kratos in a bit. But I do see his plays. Again, having another Tidal Assault in the deck is never a bad thing. Health proc Wailing Thavas. If you put Malika on him, he's at 13, swinging twice with a booster, still pretty nice. Just again, he can be a solid card for you. So there's that. And early game as well. If you get him early game with some other Stride Fighter, you can call him out and have him blow up the Vanguard twice. It's like, damn, I got rid of his Tile Assault, but then he called out a Benedict. He did help me out in another game when I was play testing the other day. So maybe a solid choice for now, maybe not. Again, that's what testing is going to do, but this is for right now, this is what I'm going to go with. All right, and on to the Stride Zone. If I can find my Stride Zone, found my Stride Zone. Stride Zone, gonna still doing Seabreeze, Aristotle, Commander Thavas, obviously, Lambie Bambi Baby, still great, and then Wailing Thavas. Wailing Thavas is such a good card. We're gonna talk about the GB8 soon, but we're gonna get that as well. I'm gonna leave Wailing Thavas on the board because I'm gonna talk about him more. He is definitely become more or less the finisher of the deck in a sense, and a bit of a safer card too in a way. So for G guards, Ice Barrier, Floatia, Dismal, Johannes. Johannes' ability though is really solid. So when you guard with her, you counterblast 1, and you flip up a face of G guard. Usually Floatia because she's whatever. And this is at GB1, so you can't G guard with this first and automatically be at GB2. So it's actually a good preventative measure. But when you do guard with it, you choose up to 5 of your rear guards, and they get resist and cannot be hit, as well as this card gets 5,000 shield for every rear guard chosen. So it's the fact that we have a card that prevents our cards from being hit, as well as being able to scale in guard by 5 increments is really, really, really solid. Very good card, really good against like a VMAX turn, really good against against maybe Night Rose if they want to bring out like a Cannoneer or something like that. Overall, just a good card, especially if your card's in the front row that your opponent's probably going to swing 19, 21 at or something like that. It's like, well, nope, you'd have to more or less direct it towards my Vanguard if you want to hit my Vanguard. And then I'll be able to guard that. Then it leaves me with options for the next turn. So very solid overall. Love this G-Guard, and really good addition to the deck. And that's my G-Zone. This is my G-Zone. Now, talking about the GB8 card, I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it. For a counter for late game when your opponent's at 5, maybe he's decent at 4. If your opponent's at 4 damage, but when your opponent's at like 5 damage, you rather go into Wailing Thavas because he prevents grade 1s from being used. And he gets rid of your opponent's board as well as he gains more attack. He'll be at minimum a 36k attack that negates grade 1s from being called from negates grade 1s. So I'd rather go into him for a counterblast because not only is he a safer option because I can use because you would have to attack with him first and then you'll rely on only wave 2, 3, and 4. Those you'll rely on 3 other attacks that will get 5,000 shield, 5,000 power, but then you'd have to hope to call a card out from the top of your deck, right? Let's see, yeah, you pretty much hope to call a card out from the top of your deck, and if it has wave, then great, it gets an additional 5k power. But if not, and you guys saw the deck. The deck's not a big on wave. It's not big on wave. So with this card, you're playing with chance. You're playing with, you're just playing with chance and things. And, I'd rather have something that's more guaranteed, that's a bit more devastating in Wailing Thavas to end games than when my opponent's like at 5 and I happen to be at GB8 in this. And a lot of the times, when you've gone into, Lambros and Commander Thavas, between these 3 cards, the game should be ending because we have this guy who's a really good, your first turn stride and decent mid-game stride. Lambros is really good, late stride to finish, more or less a finisher to finish our opponents. And then him, not only is he a good mid-late stride, but late stride to finish off opponents as well. These guys more or less are your heavy-hitting finishers. This guy can put that role, but he's more early mid-game in a sense. I'd rather go into these cards before I ever think about going into this card because he could get countered. This card can get countered as well, especially against Night Roses if they get this, make the Ghosty out and put her up to 21. Well, they put her up to 21, then a lot of the attacks that I call from his ability, depending on what I call from the from the deck, whatever it is, are not going to hit. This guy will get, it's like, I don't care if these hits or not, you have to find a way to guard 36k plus, getting rid of whatever board they had left and negating grade 1s. So that's my little spiel on it. But so that's why I'm more or less not running the GB8 card. I might make a wave version to cater to this card a little bit, but again, in the games that I have played, I have not gone, and I've played, quite a bit of games with this. I have not gone into GB8. The game ends at least by GB6. Maybe sure if you G-guard enough, and you can make the argument that if you G-guard, you G-guard enough, then you can be at GB8 to use this card. But again, I still would rather go into Lambros or Wailing Thavas to end the game than to go into this card. Now I do see that if you can't hit the 4th battle, then if you're in a really bad situation where you can't get at least 2 battles to get him off, then he's good. But I think that the way that the G zone is, you have to have 4 of him. You got to have 4 Lambros. He's just too good, and you got to have at least 2 copies of him, and he's just too fantastic. You could take out an Aristotle to put the GB8 in, but Aristotle also plays a very important role in getting rid of cards, generally first stride cards that you need off the board. If they have like double owl on the board or something and you can only retire one but then they can sack the other, you want to be able to go into this guy to get rid of that owl as well as use Thavas' ability to get rid of something else. Or if you're stuck on Skiros and you know they have a starter that's just too important for you to get rid of, going into him first stride is not a bad thing because you can get rid of that stuff to slow down their offensive progress that their starter would help spark. So that's more or less my reasoning for not running the GBA card. He's not even a blue wave or a blue storm. He's a blue swirl. He's a damn ice cream cone. But yeah, that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I will see you guys next time. Peace. Aqua Life, baby. We out.